Before you leave any hate/critiquing comments, put your thinking caps on, remain critical, and just listen to what I gotta say. So let's get into the video. In societies where modern conditions of production prevail, life is presented as an immense accumulation of spectacles. Everything that was directly lived has receded into a representation. This is from Karl Marx's Das Kapital. Now for the second quote. The wealth of those societies in which the capitalist mode of production prevails presents itself as an immense accumulation of commodities. Our investigation must therefore begin with the analysis of a commodity. The board is talking about how life becomes an immense accumulation of spectacles. Hold on to that idea throughout the whole video, please. Fetishism by definition, meaning that they confer supernatural qualities onto things like religious artifacts, rituals, people, basically things that have a natural explanation. As consumers born into the society that we are in now, it's easy to hear the word commodity and think, what's the big deal? It's a commodity, who cares, right? Well, as we experienced it, a commodity is something that is created to be bought, sold, or traded. But what is there really to explain? Well, one important thing to note is that the changes that the material things around you that makes your life possible, your stove, your shoes, your bed, and everything else in your life for that matter, practically all of this stuff was cultivated, produced, and manufactured somewhere else. And you have no idea where that is usually. This stuff was brought into existence by someone else. And you have no idea who these people are. You have no relations to them. You have no clue where they came from, where they were born, who they are. Nothing. Completely blank. Consumers like you and me are fundamentally alienated from the creative process of everything that they purchase, even items that perform a specific function in your life. Since we no longer have to actually make the stuff that we use every day, we don't ever have to consider all of the other people, all of the expertise, all of the design process to make those Armani jeans, or the making of your cool archive clothing a reality. What I'm really trying to get at here is that a lot of things have been alienated from us, from the design process to the production process to where it's made, who made it, how it was constructed, like all these things we don't think about. And it's something that we really do have to really think about and realize how these things have come to existence, because we're so alienated from the production process of things that we just kind of buy it. It's already there on the shelf. Now this fact can be used by both fans of capitalism and non alike. Fan of capitalism, someone who was born to our world. We might ask them to consider what went into their clothing that they're wearing that morning. They'd be like, yeah, exactly. This is incredible. Look at how many people I have access to where I would never otherwise be able to harness their labor and expertise that all work together to produce something as mundane as my work clothes. But simultaneously, this is proof of the consumer alienation from the production process, and it changes the way we live in modern society. The reality of this is within our culture, which is only made possible by how we are disconnected from the people that make the commodities we consume in. As Marx says, what ends up happening in practice is material relations between people, which ends up becoming social relations between things. I'll give you an example of what he's getting at here. Let's say you're sitting in your room right now. Now, I want you to stare at the clothing rack. How valuable one thing is comes from the way it was positioned within society and the complex social agreements that are ever consistent. Basically, the commodity appears socially. Its value matters more than the raw materials that it's made from. A great example of this would be paper money and why it's worth anything at all. Money is barely worth the paper it's printed on, but only because of the social agreement that we all participate in, the paper is a material symbol of value. Just like the designer clothing that's sitting on your rack and or mine. Now, a really good example of this would be Nike. I don't know if this makes me smart, intellectual for picking this brand. I just feel like it's like beating a dead horse. But the thing is, Nike, for example, we put a lot of symbolicness behind a lot of the shoes in the terms of its status, right? We put a lot of currency into it. If we really get down to the nitty gritty here, the production cost, how much the materials cost, how much they're actually paying the workers, if they're actually paying them, like, let's be honest here, they probably are, just like any fast fashion company is doing, and the inherent cost of designing and stuff, I don't know, whatever. We mesh that all together, and this is how much it actually costs to make a Jordan 1, right? Now, it's very cheap. So what they do is they mark it up, they charge it like $150, sometimes $220, depending. I don't really know how they come up with their marketing scheme or whatever, but we all consume and we all buy it, right? The more exclusive the pair, the more money the things go on for resale market and the value and stuff. Their collaborations with Travis Scott, with other people, becomes even more profitable in terms of it being able to be resold for more. And also, just like if you're wearing it, like the sneaker culture, if you're wearing something super exclusive, it makes your outfit, because it's just like, wow, he's wearing those Jordan 1 off-white UNCs. They're worth like 2 racks or something. Like, oh my gosh, he's so cool. But he's pairing them with Armani jeans and a white Gucci shirt. Like, it sucks. Everything's all symbolic and everything is all about social status. but we're alienated from the production process of everything, as you can see with like Jordan 1s like I was explaining. Because, I mean, do we really think or care about the manufacturing costs, how it was produced, how it was created? No, we just want to buy it. We want to consume. We want to purchase these things. We're like goblins. And whatever's put out, we all buy happily. The thing is, we're people and we're not economists. What we experience is a finished product sitting on the shelf, which means that we don't necessarily see the witchcraft that went into making these things that we're buying. We don't know anything about the people that made it, and we aren't thinking about all the complex social agreements that determine the thing's value. On the surface level, when we buy a pair of shoes, we just think, hey, I'm buying a nice pair of shoes right now. And the shoes that you're buying are these cool panda dunks that you're going to be going crazy on them with all these outfits that you're going to be wearing with them. But we're not thinking, wow, I can't wait to go home and wrap my feet in this symbolic representation of social relations and abstract labor. No, in practice, we just don't think that. Like, that's crazy. I think that's just way beyond a lot of people's thought process, right? We just think they're awesome shoes and you can't just wait to wear them. This is commodity fetishism though, because as consumers, we're so separated from the complex production and complex social positioning of the stuff we buy, we are forced to confer qualities that are determined socially onto the commodities themselves. In practice, we start to think that the things themselves are special, not that they are merely appear special socially. Social appearance means more to us about something's value than the material it was made out of. The illusion matters more to us than the truth. The exchange value of an item in the marketplace matters more to us than anything to do with how useful it is to us. And when the people that build and maintain our societies do so with this psychological premise in mind, this thinking starts to bleed into everything. As Debord is going to say, everything that was once directly lived has now receded into representation. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, whatever. The relationship we had with commodities in the 19th century was just a prophecy for what all aspects of society would eventually transform into the 20th and 21st century. I hope I didn't lose anyone to this point, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. But hang in there. I'm still going. Now, I want you to think of the people who buy reps, or the people that put things on their credit that they can't really afford because what matters to them is socially appearing a certain way, not actually being the person. A good example of this are the people who want to wear the medals but not earn the medals. It's not fake it till you make it anymore. Faking it is making it in the society of the spectacle. Now, this statement will definitely piss off a lot of people, but I'm not saying everyone's like this who buys reps or everyone in general. I won't generalize like that. I think that would be quite unfair. But I would say for the most part, there are definitely a decent amount of people that do this because it's more of the performance. It's more of the curation of their life that they want to seem like they have a lot of money or they're really rich. That is a spectacle. Now I'm going to brush that under the rug and I'm just going to keep on going. Now I want you to think of how our lives are often split between the reality of who we are and the digital representation of who we are. We create a digital identity that we curate and we decide how it appears. We choose the select outfits to post, the best pictures that represent our lives. We decide the people we want to appear to be. And that starts to matter more to some people rather than anything about the reality of who they really are. Now that's just social media just in general. Like, I would say that's like the best definition of social media. We curate ourselves to, like, I guess, look a certain way, to seem like you're living a certain lifestyle. It's all curated. It's all fake. Remain hypercritical about these influencers that post their life on the internet. Even myself, for example. You will never truly know who I am as a person until you meet me in real life. A lot of the chronically online perspective is taken out of this curation that a lot of these influencers put out for their sheep-like following that they create. These consumers who constantly eat up their content, they truly believe that these things are real. Take Wisdom, for example. He portrays himself as the most stylish person on TikTok, maybe on any platform, from the vast amount of looks he puts on, from his anime fits or whatever looks he's approaching. He's created the idea that he may possibly wear these items out as it may be his normal way of dress. You know, like, it's our style, it's who we are, and you gotta wonder, does he wear these items outside? Does he truly do that? Or is his content based on the appearance of the idea he truly wears these outfits outside, making him the representation of what fashion is about, which is true self-expression. Regardless of how outlandish the outfits may be, you are truly living the life by wearing it outside. Now, I kind of want to expand on the idea just in general. Can we really put someone on a pedestal if they truly don't wear certain items out specifically, right? For the most part, I would say any influencer that we do see on the internet, we would assume that they wear these outfits out from their get readies with me or their crazy outfits that they're just putting on. But the reality of it is it's mostly just for entertainment purposes. We can't really assume that everyone's always truly wearing certain items out, because there's some people that I know that just wear items for the Instagram picture and immediately take it off once the picture's taken. It's kind of corny, is it not? TikTok and Instagram Reels is where we have a plethora of crazy amounts of content that we all consume in, and we can only assume that these creators are truly putting these outfits on and walking outside, getting ridiculed, getting hated on, getting looked at, maybe getting old people to talk to them and say, why are you wearing that outside? But the real reality of it is, I would say more than 75% of them are not doing that. Most of them are either just wearing them for like an hour or two, maybe outside, not to do it on a day-to-day life, because this social media thing is no joke. It's just something that they have to do to continue to make content for, to continue to show up with that performance, right? If I want to be nice, I could just state that it's performance art, but the reality behind it is just lying to an audience that is faceless. I mean, it's really easy to just lie to a faceless audience. You don't truly understand who's behind the screen. And I could just tell people, yeah, this whole fits Yohji Yamamoto, but is it really? No, it's all thrifted. It's the curation that people perform on the internet, and that is what makes me really angry. But at the end of the day, I'm just a dude in my room hating in front of this camera. So let's continue moving forward. Now I want you to think about the person that curates an image of themselves online where they are an advocate for social issues that seem to matter to them, where they spend their lives fighting the fight on the internet, posting on their story to the 200 people that follow them. You gotta start to wonder, do they really care about these causes, or do they care more about appearing as a kind of selfless person that cares about these causes, and the social currency they get from that? This is an example of an area where all that energy could really be used effectively to change the world for the better, but it ends up just being farted away into the stinky gas of moral grandstanding and feel-good story posts. Or like an influencer that stages a PR stunt where the cameras are rolling and they do something nice or speak out against a brand, knowing it will only gain them more social currency. Influencers using certain things to only continue to garner more attention for their righteous grandstanding, for speaking out against Balenciaga or speaking out against Gucci or speaking out of all these brands that have done so many different things. Don't get me wrong, I am not advocating for Balenciaga, I'm not for them or anything, I'm not trying to make an argument for them, but it's quite interesting to see that these influencers will immediately rush to the internet and post these very grandstanding speeches that they're against Balenciaga and I hate them. I mean, at the end of the day, if you just take it for face value, it seems like it's a good act, but the reality behind it is they're truly gaining a lot more from just posting this video instead of just ignoring Balenciaga on their own. They are truly getting a lot of social currency, and if anything, likes, attention, follows from everyone that watches that content, because the people that are watching it are seeing it from one perspective and not truly being hypercritical or thinking out of the box. In reality, this influencer has so much to gain from posting it versus just living the life and ignoring Balenciaga and just letting it go. Once you post a story about it, once you actually start talking about it, you gain social currency whether you like it or you don't. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of influencers that aren't doing this out of pure intent to gain more social currency. We can't really take out anyone from the loop that I'm tying around certain people. Now this is where I think we can start to see how the spectacle ultimately doesn't just alienate us from reality, but from the society we were all a part of. But the greatest accomplishment of the spectacle is how good it is at alienating us from ourselves. Now, you know, if you're somebody that doesn't really know what exactly you want out of life, or to relate it back to fashion, your style, and you know that there's a million different directions you can go, but you don't really feel a connection with any of them. Well, one explanation for that could be that you're not very good at figuring out what you want because you never really asked yourself what you want. Your life has not been about participation so far. It's been about contemplating a few different options presented to you by the spectacle. Then you choose based on how you want to socially appear after having done this thing. You make choices based on how you'll appear, not anything to do with the substance of who you are. What you've done is what we do with the commodities. You've started to think of yourself in the terms of your exchange value in the marketplace instead of your value as a person. The spectacle ends up consuming everything about you if you allow it to. As Debord says, being turns into having turns into appearing, meaning that most humans that have ever ever lived have existed by just being and participating in reality. Now, with the emergence of fast fashion and mass production, consumers are more than ever encouraged by marketing strategies to buy more frequently. The constant trend cycle of products in the market motivates customers to buy more often by making recent styles old or outdated. People need to purchase more often in order to continually satisfy their desire to display their social and economic status. Thus, by doing so, disassociation between consumers and all the workers involved in production occurs, only proving the case of commodity fetishism. Now, there was definitely a lot that was said in this video, and there's a lot of participation in the comment section that you can proceed to envelop yourself into, but the one thing that I just want you to take away from this video is that we all participate in this. I do as well. I buy a lot of things that hold value that I know I can make my money back from, and a lot of that purchasing power comes down to me and the social value that we connect to the clothing pieces that I end up purchasing. And if we go by that notion, a lot of the items that I buy might not really be truly what I like. Do I like it because it has intrinsic value? Do I like it because it actually is cool pieces of clothing? Do I like it because of how the designer created it and the design process behind it, because I'm thinking bigger and deeper about certain things? That answer will truly not be known, because at the end of the day, we're all truly influenced by the commodity of things, by the symbolic power that certain items have. For example, the Riot Bomber. If you own that thing, we all know you're rich. We all know you have something super exclusive, and it makes you kind of better than everybody, right? You gotta be cool if you're wearing the Riot Bomber. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't truly participate in fashion, but I think that I want you to hold on to the idea that you might be purchasing certain things because of the symbolicness of it, or the status, or the social appearance you might garner from wearing certain items. Because if you detach yourself from that way of thinking, will you truly find your style, maybe realize that you like certain things for what it is and not because of what it can make you look like or appear like. This video wasn't meant to create any stir-up or controversy. I just want people to think a little bit more critical about certain things and maybe expand your knowledge on whatever it is. So I'm glad I was able to dump a little bit of wisdom onto you, but to be honest, this took up a lot of my brain cells and a lot of my brain activity to really make. So please leave a like, leave a comment, and let's discuss about this topic. And I hope you learned something from this, because I truly lost myself creating this, and it definitely made me burn out. But I want to thank everyone that had watched this and actually listened to what I had to say. I appreciate you the most, and I hope we continue to grow as a community together, and I hope one day I will be the fashion influencer that everyone wants me to be. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Clearly, I have the attire of a philosophical person. I got the tie on, I got the white bun up, I got my hair done, I got the glasses.